Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Dr. Cali Estes. He's an addictions coach, he's a highly sought after addiction professional, life coach, recovery coach, performance coach, and wellness guru. And she's the author of 5 best-selling books. Welcome to the show, Dr.
Thank
Kali.
you. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome to the show, Dr. Kali. You are welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll be talking about addiction and mental health. In this backdrop, we'll have our discussion. But before that, let's understand a bit more about you, through you, Dr. Kali, a bit about your journey to this point.
Sure. So I am a specialist in mental health and addiction, but I got here because I experienced it myself. I had an eating disorder and an addiction to diet pills, and I wasn't going to get into this field or this career. But once I realized I had to help myself, because here in the US, our medical system isn't designed to help you, it's designed to keep you sick. So I wasn't able to get the proper help that I needed to figure out the why of what was happening. So I started learning myself. And as I started to heal myself on my own journey, I realized I could help other people overcome certain things. So that's how I got into what I do. And I help other people with mental health and addiction issues that are trying to get sober or navigate the whole system and feeling better.
Right, right. So you have experienced it and now you are helping others. You have founded the largest addiction education school across the globe, training over 40,000 people in 40 plus countries. And recently your law of attraction has also been widely successful. So this whole education school, what it does, Dr. Khalid, help us understand. And so many countries, means it's phenomenal then.
Yes. So we started in the United States with one course on recovery. So helping people that are getting sober in real time, real life. So instead of going to a facility, we could come to you and help you get sober in your home, go to work sober, things like that. And it quickly grew. We have 45 different classes in mental health, in addiction, all the way from doctors take our courses, all the way to people that are just, 17, 18 years old that want to help, that want to learn. And we started growing. We got interest from South Africa. We got interest from Venezuela, from the UK, from India. And people started taking our classes and they're able to help other people. And it quickly grew from a very small little school just to help a few people, in Florida, in the United States, to all over the world. And now we're the largest provider in the globe for mental health and addiction classes for anyone that wants to learn and help.
Wonderful, wonderful. So let me understand this problem a bit more. Means, how big is this problem? Drugs you hear about, but I want to understand a bit more about the different sort of addictions, especially in the US and outside, since you work in different countries all across the globe. How big is this problem about addiction, and then in terms of mental health?
So in the US, 1 in 5 people has a mental health problem. 1 in 7 has an addiction. That's just our statistics. But a lot of people don't report addiction because when we think of addiction, we think drugs and alcohol, right? You take illegal drugs, you take alcohol, that's a problem. But addiction can also be technology. If you're on your phone all the time, you're checking your email, you're on social media to the point where, it's exhausting. And then you also have porn and sex addiction. We have people that are watching excessive amounts of pornography or they're in strip clubs and it's affected their relationship. We have people that have shopping addiction. They're on their app, Amazon Prime, purchase, and all these packages are showing up. Or they're at the store buying things and then they return them instead of, utilizing them. They go buy more. So all of these things become addictions. And anything that disrupts the happiness in your life and stops you from being the best version of yourself can be an addiction. So we look at all of that. We have classes for all of that. And then in mental health, it could be trauma, something that happened when you were little. It could be a chemical imbalance in your brain. It could be anything. It could be a response to an environment. You have extreme anxiety for something, or you have depression. And we look at all of that and what's in your environment. What can we fix? How can you be more healthy? What can you do, to lower your stress? We do yoga. We go to the gym. We eat healthy. We do less sugar, less caffeine. So there's things that we can help people and guide them in the right direction. But the amount of people that are having problems, especially as the world is getting more volatile, is going up.
Wonderful. So what can one do? One is that when there is a problem, addiction as well as either mental health, you go to a facility or take help of doctors. Other is either as they say, prevention is better than cure, or even if there is a bit of thing that what you can do during your addiction, what are few things that people can do at home without taking the help of any doctor or anyone, or just little bit of what I want to understand is what are the steps that one can take either to prevent getting addicted to something. Second thing is, if they have got addicted, what are the things they can take do at home with the help of friends or family?
Sure. So first of all, you have to realize if you're addicted. Addicted means you can't stop. You can't go without. You feel sick on withdrawal, either mentally or physically. So think of just your phone. If you've lost your phone, how many times have you panicked and went, oh my God, I can't find my phone, right? Because your phone has everything in it nowadays. So even just that, you're addicted to your phone because everything is there. So we talk about a digital detox, or we talk about, drinking less alcohol. If you can go without for a few days, you're not addicted. But if you start to realize, I need that, I feel physically sick, or I want something, that's an addiction. So we say use less and less and less. Take a break. If you're drinking 6 beers a day, try drinking 4, then try drinking 3, then try drinking 2. And then, of course, if you have depression or anxiety, we say exercise, do yoga, do physical fitness, go for a walk, do squats, because exercise boosts dopamine in your brain. Dopamine is your happy chemical. You can't be happy and anxious at the same time. Your brain chemically won't allow that. So you can do one or the other. So that's 2 things. Taking hot Epsom salt baths pulls the toxins out of your body. So, or magnesium flake baths. Those are things you can do to feel better. In terms of addiction, don't bring it in the house. Don't bring sugar in the house. Don't bring alcohol in the house. Don't bring drugs in the house. Number one thing is, if it's not there, you're not going to reach for it, right? If you have to get up and go out, it's going to be more difficult to get than if you just walk down to the refrigerator and grab a beer out of the refrigerator, or, a candy bar, or what you want. Think of it that way. So think of some prevention tips that way. And then, of course, you want to tell people around you need help, because you can't do this alone. You cannot just go, I got this, I'll figure it out. You have to have help. You have to have people say to you, no, you don't need that right now. Let's work on getting healthy. Let's do something different.
Right. What worked in your case? Because at that point in time, neither the education school was there, neither all the other things that you were doing were there. So I want to understand your strategy when all these things were not there that you are doing.
Well, you're going to love this. So I ended up in the hospital because I was having heart pain. And I was 23, and the doctor said, you're going to die. And he handed me a pamphlet for NA, for Narcotics Anonymous, and a pamphlet for OA, to go to Overeaters Anonymous. And I went to both groups, and I didn't like it, because at the NA group, they had sugar, they had caffeine, and they had cigarettes, the 3 things I liked when I was 23. So I thought, I can't get sober here, because that's going to lead me back to my speed addiction and my food addiction. So a friend of mine said, come to a yoga class with me. And it was a Bikram yoga class. And I remember I said, I can't do this. I can't touch my toes. I can't breathe. It's too hot. All I did was complain. And she looked at me and she said, shut up and just do it. And I looked at her and I thought, well, fine. And I did it. And the instructor came up and he said, come back, we'll do it again. I thought, all right. I did it again. And he taught me to get rid of all my emotions on the yoga mat. And he said, this is where all that stuff that's in your head, all the negative, I can't do it, I'm a bad person, I'm too fat, all this comes out on the mat before you go to the fridge, before you take a drug. And I started using yoga, and I would do 10 sun salutations. And then I learned to teach yoga. Not of course as great as Bikram, but I could teach the basic, movements and things. And I started using that with my clients. And I started to notice they wanted less and less drugs because they were plugging into the yoga mat. They were aligning their chakras, they were breathing, and they were centering and balancing for the first time in their life. They weren't everywhere else, they were present. When you're present, you're not using drugs. You're using drugs and alcohol to escape. So it was a big pivotal moment for me when I kind of went, aha, that's it. And then I started using that in my practice and working with clients, and it worked. Because here, we don't use yoga very often. You know, people say, oh, that's exercise, but there's so many components to it. The spiritual component, the connection component, all of those things made such a big difference with my clients. And when I tell people that, they're like, really? You used yoga? I'm like, yeah, because I plugged into the whole thing, and it wasn't just the physical movements. It was all of it. And it worked.
It works, and it
Yeah.
works. Obviously, it will work because you are detoxifying naturally. You are getting fresh air and a lot of things. And people have to understand it their own manner. And it is like you can feel it, then you do it, you feel better, and you still do it, many
Yeah.
more times. That's what it says. I can understand. About all these things coming from India myself. So a lot of people benefit out of this. I know that though I am not been able to follow it as strictly as possible, but I always know about the benefits and aim to do a bit more than what I am doing right now. So I want to understand about, people talk about drug addiction, about alcohol, everything, sugar addiction. Tell us a bit more about this sugar thing. Why do we focus on that? And secondly, sugar is such an important part of the whole dietary system, either in the kitchen or everything that you eat. How would you suggest they start looking at, removing sugar, or perhaps getting something else which is not, which you cannot get addicted to?
So sugar has almost the same chemical makeup as heroin. That's the important thing. So it hijacks the brain's receptors. So the brain has neuroreceptors. It hijacks those very similar to heroin, and it detoxes in the body like heroin. So you don't want to put in cane sugar. You don't want to put in the artificial sugars. You want to think when you cook or you bake, use natural sugars. Use your agave nectar. Use your monk fruits if you can. Use your honey. Those are natural sugars. All the cane sugar does is it boosts your insulin, which boosts your resistance, which causes diabetes, and it causes addiction problems. But if you can use it in moderation, if you can use the honeys and the agave nectars and the monk fruits, and then, of course, real fruit, bananas, peaches, pears, not juice, because juice is usually concentrated, artificial with tons of sugar. You want something that's whole and that's healthy. If you start replacing with that, the body will respond to that better. And you'll notice that. And if you try to take sugar completely out of your diet, you'll feel sick. And that's because your insulin is bottoming out. And you're going to feel like you have no energy and you're physically ill. And if you start to shake, that's when you know you have too much sugar in your diet. And you need to regulate that type of sugar. So think natural first. The easiest way is if you're baking something, replace the sugar. So if it says a cup of sugar, replace it with unsweetened applesauce. Start there. You'll notice it at first. You'll be like, oh, it's not as sweet. But then you'll notice it tastes good. It tastes normal. And when you have something with sugar, let's say a donut, you're going to say, oh, this is way too sweet. You'll start to realize it's too much. And that's how you know you're breaking that addiction and you're getting healthier.
Right. Now let's come to your books where we can learn a lot from. You've written 5 best-selling books, and you have also created a popular supplement line for addiction and mental health. Tell us a bit about your books so that people can learn from that about all these addictions.
Sure. So if you go to Amazon, I have a book called I Married a Junkie, and I have the second book coming out, and it's all about my husband's addiction to heroin. He passed away. We wrote the first book together. The second book, he wrote part of it, and then he passed away. But it's about the long-term complications of drug use. He didn't die from drugs. He died from the damage to his body. So it talks about the damage to your body. I have 2 workbooks. I have a recovery coach workbook, and I have an Unpause Your Life life coach workbook for people that feel stuck in life and just can't move forward to kind of get them through. And then I have a book called the 7 Keys to Tap into the Wealth Inside You. And that is to how to manifest or how to make things happen that you want. It's all about law of attraction and using energy to create what you want. So those are the books that are available on Amazon. The I Married a Junkie book 2 will be out in September. So that'll be released then. What was your second question? Oh, the supplements. The supplements are for neurotransmitters. So there's a lot of supplements for vitamins for your body, but there was nothing in the US for your brain. And when you do drugs, it damages your brain, not just your body, but your neuroreceptors that fire. When you do opiates, it shuts them down and they don't refire. And they create new neural pathways to fire differently. So what happens is you're talking to somebody and you feel like they're not all quite there when they're sobering from drugs. This is to get the neuroreceptors to fire correctly so that their brain heals and goes back to the way they were. So it's a different type of supplement line.
Wonderful, wonderful. You also have a podcast, Dr. Kali, and Unpause Your Life podcast. Help us. What this podcast is all about? I like this name, and what is it people can learn from that?
So Unpause Your Life is all about people who've overcome something in their journey. It could be anything: addiction, mental health, a challenge, a physical challenge, or they've created something, exponential to help other people. What are they doing different? How did they get there? So it's a very motivational type podcast. We have listeners around the world that come and just want some motivation or some help. And then there's a few episodes on there that I do where I talk about law of attraction and certain things like the 21-21 rule, or the secret triangle, how to get unstuck when you're in your head. Just quick little easy things people can do every single day to move forward. Maybe they don't want to be in therapy or have a therapist. These are things they can do that are quick. So that's what it is.
Wonderful. So there is much to learn from you, Dr. Kali, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to learn about all these things from your book, from your podcast. What is the best way for them to connect with you?
So the easiest way is my Linktree. It's linktree.com/Dr. Cali Estes. And on there, it will have all of the books. It'll have all the websites. I think we have 5 or 6 websites. It'll have everything they need right there on the Linktree.
Right. My last question to you, Dr. Kali, is doing so much about addiction thing and helping people with your education, schools, some books and all other things. What is it that you now seek for in your journey forward, especially with regards to addiction and mental health?
So after I write this book, I'm going to take some time off and I'm going to travel around the world. And I want to start meeting other people doing what I'm doing outside of the US. I want to see what it's like in other countries, and I want to see what other people are up to help other people. So that's the next thing I'm going to be doing. I've already done Canada. I've done Mexico. I'm going to come over and do Europe, of course, India, trek around a little bit, kind of do some mindfulness and some work in the field, if you would say.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.